It is mock draft season, and today we will be diving into some of the top NFL analysts' mock draft for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I will be giving you my opinion. But before we do all of that, please be sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. It is draft season, as now we are little less than a month, maybe a month away before the draft takes place in Kansas City. So I thought this channel needs to revamp a little more and get heavily invested into the draft. So I'm thinking every Saturday, or I might give you guys multiple videos a week of going through some of these mock drafts, and then on Sunday, I will give you my own. So that's why I mentioned, subscribe to the channel because I'm gonna keep you up to date on all this draft coverage. What we're gonna do today is, I kind of went wandering around NFL.com and through Google and trying to find some NFL mock drafts. I wanted to give you guys some high profile analysts and dive in and see what they are viewing or their perspective on what they think the Kansas City Chiefs will take. Now, right now, there's not really too many high profile names. I mean, there is, but for ESPN, I gotta pay for Todd McShay or Mel Kiper's mock draft, and I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll go through YouTube and maybe they have it on there, but going through articles, it's something I couldn't find. So right now, I got some NFL.com analysts and I got a CBS analyst, and we're just going to dissect it and see who they view that the Kansas City Chiefs would fit best for as a draft selection. We are going to kick this thing off with Daniel Jeremiah's 3.0 NFL mock draft, and he has the Kansas City Chiefs staying at pick number 31 and selecting Will McDonald. Now, this has been the consistent pick that I have seen throughout NFL mock drafts, is that Will McDonald could go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I don't know if it's a safe pick, if it's a smart pick. I have watched some highlights on Will McDonald, and he seems like an explosive edge rusher that gets a really good bend, and Daniel Jeremiah mentioned that as well. And then there have been other analysts that have mentioned that Will McDonald is that type of player that he'll be a consistent pass rusher for 10 plus years in the NFL. And if the Kansas City Chiefs go his route, that is something you like to hear. And also, Chiefs Kingdom, you guys have been praying and hoping for a pass rusher that the Kansas City Chiefs go after in the first round. And honestly, I think I'd feel more comfortable with that than a wide receiver. Now, I would lean the wide receiver route if the Kansas City Chiefs trade up. But if the Kansas City Chiefs stay at pick 31, it kind of gets slim, and I don't like what could be available at pick 31. I think there's a gap between the JSN, the Zay Flowers, and then afterwards it kind of dips off. I know a lot of people are big fans of Quentin Johnson, and I would like him in a Chiefs jersey as well. It's just I don't view him on that level. And then after that, it's a drop, and then you get to your next tier of wide receivers, which is kind of mid to early second round type of guys where the Chiefs may have to reach on. Whereas for edge pass rushers, the depth is there where they can get a guy they like and they can be a day one starter. And it would also help to kind of mend the hole that Frank Clark left. Even though Charles Omenihu is coming in, you can't go wrong with just keep adding more and more pass rushers. And I know that would make Chiefs Kingdom happy. And I think Will McDonald would be a solid pick if the Kansas City Chiefs do decide to go that direction. We got a 2-for-1 here because Chad Reuter and Charles Davis have their mock drafts on NFL.com, and they have us selecting the same player out of Tennessee, wide receiver Jalen Hyatt. Charles Davis has us staying at pick number 31 for him. Chad Reuter actually has us trading up to pick number 22 to get Jalen Hyatt. This might not be a popular take, so let me gather myself before I say it. Maybe this will be a hot take, but I'm not the biggest Jalen Hyatt type of fan. I see Chiefs Kingdom really wants him in a Chiefs uniform next year because of his speed, but man, I think there's better receivers. I think you're reaching specifically if you even stay at pick 31 for him. And if you trade up at pick 22. If you're trading up in that area, I'm hoping you're grabbing a guy like a Quentin Johnson or a Zay Flowers. And you're not trading up for Jalen Hyatt. Yes, he can be really good in this league. But initially what I see of him is just a speed go route type of guy. And it reminds me a lot of Will Fuller. There's nothing wrong with that. But Chiefs Kingdom has been praising and hoping for a wide receiver number one because they don't believe that Kadarius Toney's ready for that role or Sky Moore. I don't see that in Jalen Hyatt. And I may get a lot of slack and I may get a lot of hate for that. But I feel like if you're going to go that route with Jalen Hyatt at the end of round 1, I think you could get a better receiver at the end or mid round 2 if you wanted to trade up. I think there's so many better options than Jalen Hyatt. I'm not trying to slight him, whatever. It's just also he does the same things as MVS to me. And so you want 2 of the same players on the roster? It doesn't feel right for the Kansas City Chiefs. He may be good on a different team. He would probably be good as a Chief as well. But I just feel with the wide receivers available in the draft, there are so many better options. And there's also guys who can legit be a wide receiver number 1. I just see Jalen Hyatt right now as take the top off and go. And if that's an unpopular opinion, and if it's a hot take, hey, I'm here for that. But right now, he's not my favorite type of guy or type of wide receiver in the draft. And also, Chad Reuter as well. As I mentioned, he said the Chiefs will trade up for Jalen Hyatt. If you look at who he picked ahead of, how do I phrase that actually? Let's rewind because now I'm getting my words all jumbled. If you look at Chad Reuter and who he has the Chargers taking ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs at pick number 21, it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm sorry, no. The Chiefs will trade up to 20 if Jackson Smith and Jigba is still there at 20. They're not going to let that happen. And yes, the Buffalo Bills pick at 20 as well. So maybe the Chiefs trade at 19. But if Jackson Smith and Jigba's in that 18 to 20 range, best believe, and I would hope as well, that the Chiefs will trade up in that area. They're not going to let the Chargers pick Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then they feel like, because that seems like a panic move at that point to where, oh no, the Chargers pick Jackson Smith and Jigba, we got to trade up and get the next guy before they all get taken. No. If wide receivers start falling off the board and your guy is gone, the Kansas City Chiefs will draft an edge rusher in round 1 and stay at 31. There is no way they're going to trade up for Jalen Hyatt just to watch a couple receivers fall off. Brett Veach doesn't panic in those type of circumstances, and I don't see a trade in that kind of circumstance happening as well. I know there's a lot of Jalen Hyatt fans out there. He's just not my cup of tea. Now for the last mock draft we're going to be covering, it'll be coming from CBS Sports, and they will have us staying at pick number 31 and drafting edge out of LSU, BJ Ojulari. And I love that pick as well. I think you can't really go wrong with edge rusher at the end of the first round, and that's why I'm leaning towards that. Honestly, I'm feeling like edge first, wide receiver second, and maybe you can flip it around, maybe wide receiver and then edge, because this edge draft class is really deep where you can get a solid pass rusher in the second round. But BJ Ojulari, he is a freak athlete as well, and I think he would fit Spagnuolo's scheme tremendously. And I think he could be a day 1 starter on the other side of Karlaftis, or a rotational guy with Karlaftis or a Minahue as well. Like I mentioned, we've been hoping and praying for more pass rushers to come. And if the Kansas City Chiefs go back-to-back years of selecting a pass rusher in the first round, last year they took Karlaftis, and if they take a guy like Ojulari or McDonald, or there's many guys actually out there that could be available at pick 31 where I think the fans would be happy with, which vice versa. If they're selecting a wide receiver and Jackson Smith and Jigba's gone, if Zay Flowers is gone, and if Quentin Johnson is gone, Chiefs Kingdom may be like, ooh, that's kind of a reach. That's why I'm leaning more for, take the edge rusher because you will still get a solid player and they can produce day 1. Where unlike wide receiver, you could reach, it could take them time to learn the scheme, which we've seen with Sky Moore. Now, it's not Sky Moore's fault whatsoever, but we've seen it with players coming into Coach Reid's scheme. It takes them a minute. And do you want to spend a round 1 pick to where it could take half the year or a full year to learn the scheme, unlike you could draft an edge rusher, and once the edge rusher comes in, he could be a day 1 starter. I'm leaning towards that way for right now. Of course, my feelings, my opinions can change day to day, week to week. Anything can happen. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, we dove into 4 mock drafts. I will be giving you a mock draft tomorrow, so like I mentioned, do subscribe because it's going to be really fun. Also, I'm thinking about doing some of those mock draft simulators on the channel. Maybe I'll go live for them. We'll see how I'm feeling. Let me know if you think that would be a good idea, but it's mock draft season, so this is all going to be fun. You let me know of some of those selections you've seen. Do you like Jalen Hyatt as a Kansas City Chief? Like I mentioned. I don't know. It's just too risky of a move for me. That's Will Fuller, and I don't need a guy just to run a go route and catch passes. What, does it look fun? Can it be fun? Yes, but that's not a consistent wide receiver number one for me. But Chiefs Kingdom, you may have different opinions. Drop them down in the comments below. Please be sure, if you did like this video, please give me that big thumbs up. Y'all take care. Peace.